The Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
There is a brilliant new show on Stan, original series Population 11. It's streaming now only on Stan, and I tell you what, when you get an actor of this calibre to come to Australia, Ben Feldman, come to Australia. Yeah, you'll hang out in Sydney Harbour. You'll have an amazing time with your family. But then you get sent to the middle of Australia in the outback, and he joins us now. Benny Feldman, welcome!
Ben, hello, buddy!
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, no, it's nice being in Sydney where there's buildings and people and restaurants.
And running water.
Stop signs.
People that hopefully you can understand when they talk.
Yeah, but here, well, I understood
Okay.
everybody out in Northwest. It was quite a culture shock.
And where were you?
I was
talk
in
us through that.
Derby. The getting there was interesting because I flew
where's
from
Derby?
LA to here to when I arrived.
Yeah.
So I'm in this fancy hotel on the rocks here in Sydney, and then went out to this fancy dinner on like a boat, and then flew to Broome, which is also nice.
Yeah,
But for me, Broome is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, long way away.
And then you get in a car and you drive on some dirt roads for a couple hours, and you're in.
Are we there
Derby.
yet?
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
Yeah.
No.
And then it was just like, I mean, it's why you get into acting. You get to go to crazy places you can't imagine ever going to. But that's
What I love about this show, to think that this, it's based on a true story, right? And there's a mystery in a town of only 12 people.
yeah.
And to think that could actually happen, that someone could go missing and nobody knows anything.
Or everybody knows
to a
something.
point,
Yeah. And then think that's what's fascinating about it. I think that's why people were really interested in the story that was sort of like a jumping off point for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that we're not telling that story. We've made up a bunch of characters. There was never an American. We just kind of took it and ran with it and came up with a bunch of crazy, ridiculous people.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's when you go to those small towns, even as an Aussie, because we were up in Darwin, and Darwin is a big culture shift from Sydney.
Yeah.
To walk into those local bars where there's always a crocodile on the wall, isn't there?
Yeah. Or out the back,
Yeah, well, I
swimming
came
in the
here-
pond.
Yes.
I came here thinking this was everybody just lives with crocodile. Just Australians are you just have crocodiles in your backyard. And so when I got there, the cast and the crew were like they constantly just like, mate, just so you know, this is not.
Yeah.
They were like, we're tourists too. They're standing behind me taking pictures of the crocodiles
Yeah.
too. So.
Did you learn any new skills, new outback Aussie skills out there?
Don't swim in water, natural water.
I know.
Surely there was a trick at the bar or
That's the fun, but the whole the water thing was such a crazy thing because the vibe out there, and I think this is sort of universal in Australia, is essentially like don't worry, you're probably not going to die. Like everything is just like you're probably not going to die. Like and they would be like, we go swimming in that pond over there, and I'm like, but aren't there crocodiles? And like, yeah, but they're freshies.
Yeah.
they're not salties. And I'd
They're
be like,
more scared of you.
Just go where there's no crocodiles and swim there.
I know what you mean. We get a bit relaxed about it, don't we?
Yeah.
The chances are you won't die. Great news today, Ben.
That's the Australian motto is most likely you'll live.
Mate, can we talk about Adam Sandler? Because I know you've done some work with him, and it says here that he was your first boss.
He was my first real life boss. Yeah.
How did that work? What was that?
I did a show called The Mayor.
Yeah.
And it was about an 18-year-old kid who was the mayor of his own town, and it was on a network that doesn't exist anymore. And Adam, the company was called Happy Madison. It's Adam's company. And so, I went to LA and went to the office, and there was like a bulldog chewing on a skateboard, and everybody's playing video games, and it was just like it was like visiting a frat house, but it was Happy Madison offices, and it was cool. The show was like that. My parents were these big Broadway legends. My girlfriend on the show was Lizzie Kaplan, and my sister, who just had like a couple lines here and there, was Anna Kendrick. It was like this huge. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy show.
Wait, we've heard a whisper as well that you can throw a good party yourself, Benny. Can you tell us about your Valentine's Day party?
Wow, you guys do your research.
Yeah, what was going on there?
We used to. I can't tell you most of the things that was going on there. We used to have a party. There's two iterations of it. There was one when we were in our 20s, and it was just like hundreds of people and like dirty stuff happening in the laundry room, and we would hire like. there'd be like a magician and a fortune teller, and then like all these weird like balloons with like Kama Sutra positions on them.
okay.
And
You're like the
candy.
Spiegel tent.
Yeah, someone doing genital origami.
Yeah. Well, there was, by the way, would not be out of place.
You can't do that in 2024.
So when we grew up and we had kids and we're adults now, we had a version of it a couple of years ago, right before COVID, and we still had like bondage performers, like these women that like tied ropes around each other and then ate fire.
Amazing.
Yeah, my wife, because nobody has a Valentine's party.
no one does
Everybody at that time of the year, you've already done all the parties and there's nothing going on.
What was the show that was getting around? I think Kelly Osbourne was involved, and you would go along. Where I remember we were at the Roosevelt one time, Fitz, and the show was happening there.
Was it
David Arquette's place?
David Arquette's place.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
What was that called? I know. Yeah, it was big, and then there's one I think in Vegas as well. Yeah,
And you would
place
walk
did well.
in, and it was kind of like sign off here that you won't take any photos. You're not allowed to tell anybody what goes on.
Yeah, there was a place like the
inside.
Box in New York City, and I think there's one
What's
in Vegas.
that?
The Box is like this cabaret type thing, but they're doing extremely disgusting, offensive, like crazy stuff that I also probably can't talk about in the morning.
So
radio.
you've got the Box coming to your next Valentine's Day party.
By the way, I went to the Box with my in-laws. My wife at the time invited them, and there's like people walking around with like mirror trays in this club. I mean, it was crazy.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And your in-laws.
See, it makes it a lot easier now.
Okay, can I? Okay, before we all get cancelled, I need to ask you quickly about somebody else you did work with years ago.
Yeah.
Is Hilary Duff?
Yeah.
And of course, we saw you as the heartthrob opposite her. Lizzie here, standing in the studio, was a very big
did you like
fan,
that show?
not only of you but of Hilary. But are you still in touch with
I am.
Hilary?
You know
Like
what's
for
funny?
the people who grew up staring into your eyes as Hilary did.
And what's funny is people are finding, because we live in a world now where you can discover something that existed 4,000 years ago, like that movie, and someone like your age will come up to me and be like, I love, like they probably just saw it, and to see the look in their face when I'm like, yeah, Hilary and our kids go to the same school, like we're on like PTA boards and stuff, like we have like, I see her at drop off or pick up, like when the kids are getting on the bus.
How funny is that?
Yeah,
To think all these years later.
Yeah,
Love
it's crazy
that,
to go
Benny.
back and tell me
Benny, congratulations on your career, mate, and it's great that you've got to experience, most of Australia already. You're here in Sydney, but also up northwest as well, and the Stanley original series, Population 11, it's streaming right now only on Stan. We appreciate you. We know how busy your time is, so thank you very much for coming into the studio this morning, Ben.
Thank you guys for having me. I'll come back anytime. I love it here.
Yeah, see you at your
Ben.
party.
Yeah, you guys can come to the Valentine's party.
I love that.
next
Did you
time.
hear that, Lizzie? You
We'll
in?
throw one here.
Fits in Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.